Hi, this is Tom. I just updated to the new iMovie a few days ago. I wanted to share with you some of my experiences. To give you a little bit of background, I've probably recorded over 200 movies or produced over 200 small movies with iMovie 9.0.9, which is the version that was the most current right before Mavericks OS was released. So anyway, I gave the new iMovie 10.0 a try, and one of the first things that popped up on the screen that confused me, which is really not too confusing if you know ahead of time, is it comes up with a message that asks if you want to update your library or update it later. So I didn't know what that meant. I went ahead and updated, which was not really necessary, and I'll tell you why. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, you're going to get something that's going to look like this. The only difference will be it's going to say update later or update. If you choose update, it's going to take your iMovie events and projects that will probably look something like a folder called iMovie events, iMovie projects, maybe under your movie folder. And it's going to convert them in such a manner that it turns it into something similar to the iPhoto library. So it's going to look like, well, just like this, iMovie library.iMovie library. It's going to create a copy. Now, what I don't know, but I think it creates or requires probably close to twice the disk space. So that's one consideration. If you do choose update, it will maintain the old files, which is good, and I'll show you why in a couple minutes. So anyway, the alternative is to say update later and then just never update your library. The reason that's not a bad option is because if you actually look in the applications folder, you're going to see you have this new iMovie, and you'll have a folder called iMovie 9.0.9, which in there will be the old app. So either app will run, so there's no need to really update your older movies. If you do, I would recommend probably getting rid of one copy or the other. It did seem to take a long time also, so it's kind of CPU and maybe disk intensive to do so. So my recommendation is don't do that. So the other thing you'll notice, if you ignore this library right here that says iMovie library 1_5_A, which is something I created, it'll come up with a default library. It'll have an event on the day you updated to the new iMovie. It's going to be basically empty. So what you can do, if you want to create, say, a library on an external drive, which I usually do, all you have to do is go up here and say File, Open Library, New, and then you can give your library a unique name and tell it where to store it. So then you've created a new library, your old one's still intact, and you can create it, say, on an external drive if that's what you prefer. So that's one thing I would like to point out. So there's no need to update. In fact, I think it's better not to personally, but that's personal preference. A couple other things in the new iMovie. When you go to import a movie, and I should put some data in here, it's a couple things to note. At the top, you're going to have to tell it where to go. If you don't do that, it could import the clips maybe where you don't want them. So you can either choose an existing event, or you can just say new event, and then you just name it, and it's going to go to whatever library you had chosen. Like I'm in the iMovie library 1_5_A. So if I put new event, it'll just add a new one to this, and I can import. So that's one important thing. So one thing we were talking about is how to import clips. One of the differences that I kind of like is that in the old version, if you were importing only certain clips, you had to select a check box on every one of the clips, which was kind of a pain, or at least that's the way I think you had to do it. In this one, you can select by just dragging a box around some clips like this. It's one way. You can hold Command, select other clips, or if you want to go between, say, one section and the end, you can click the first one, come down, hold Shift, and it'll select everything between the two points you selected. So that's kind of nice. It's a little bit easier. Again, remember that you want to make sure you're in the right library and click on New Event if you want it to go into its own separate event. That's one important thing. The other thing, you can adjust your clip size of your import up here. So if you want to see more on the screen, you can adjust the size of this. You can say hide clips that are already imported. I usually don't do that. Show waveform shows the amplitude of the soundtrack. I usually don't need that either. So anyway, that's a nice thing. I don't have objective data on this, but it seems like the clips import a little bit faster in this version. I don't know if that's due to the way the library is organized. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, so I don't need to re-import those clips. The other thing you'll notice is in your iMovie library, you don't have like a project library, so to speak, and an event library. They're kind of consolidated, which can be good. So what happens if you select an event, you'll see all the clips in the event, and if you kind of scroll up to the top, if you've created any projects, they're at the top, and you can select either one of them. So if you want to edit it, you can just double click it. It will load. Then basically your clip selection is at the top. You can select portions and just drag and drop into this timeline down here. So this is kind of where you create the project itself. The rest of it's fairly similar. Couple points. On the other version, this was kind of located on the right. This is where you select the transitions you want, select the titles. Much of it's the same. One other thing, if you click over here, again, you can kind of choose the resolution of the clip. So if you want to display it in more detail, you can slide it to the right, slide it to the left, and it'll kind of squeeze them down in size. So that's another button that wasn't obvious to me. If you want to scroll through your project, of course you can just scroll over, or if you have a magic mouse, just swipe to the left. Let's see. You see the running time up here, time of the movie, so you can kind of see when this clip starts, the next one starts, the beginning of this next clip. So one of the features that I can't find in the new version is adding a comment marker, which I kind of found handy. There is a way to add a marker, which is this little blue thing in the clip. Basically, go up to this menu, add marker, or you can just press M on the keyboard and it will add a marker. Likewise, you can delete the marker. Okay, a couple other points I'd like to make. You got this little adjustment here that's for clip size. You've likewise got one up here. So in your clip window for the event, you can adjust the size. You can also change the resolution in seconds for the clips, so if you want to see them in more detail. And you can click the show waveforms. The other thing, when you're adjusting an individual clip, you can select it. If you click this adjust, another menu comes up. This is where you can perform cropping just like you used to. You can get information about the clip, video effects, audio effects. You can adjust the color here. You can adjust the volume. So it's pretty much like it was before. It just shows up a little bit differently. That's another feature that I use quite a bit. And the other thing is, I tend to export a lot of movies. That's in the share menu. So you can still share it to YouTube, iTunes, Facebook, wherever you want. If you like to export, you just click File. Here you'll have a selection of, if you want it 1080p, 520, whatever, or 720, whatever resolution you want. And you just hit next and it will export. Now, one thing that's also interesting that I'm not going to show you, because I don't want to export a video. Actually, I can start. I'll just cancel it. So I will give it a name, example. It's going to go on this external hard drive. I'm going to hit save. So what's going to happen, which is kind of a nice thing about the new version, it's going to transcode this in the background. So there'll be a little circle here, and this will fill up a pie chart as it's transcoding to show you its progress. But you can kind of click on it and it'll tell you the status. So if you have two movies, you can see what's being transcoded, how long it's going to take. This will go in the background and you'll get like a notification to say when it's actually done. So I just actually canceled this one because I really don't want to transcode it. But the key point here is that you can start transcoding one movie and work on another. So in the old version, you pretty much had to just wait till it was finished to do anything. I think that about covers what I wanted to cover. So you can go back and convert your old library over anytime you want. If you don't want to, remember you can go back and still run the old movie from the applications menu and edit your older movies with the older version, which is fine. So there's no need to convert libraries. It's pretty easy to create another library either on your hard drive or on an external hard drive. So hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you for your time and attention.